So Mike Ashley and Cork GAA, it's actually a thing. It's happened. Mike Ashley is officially sponsoring Cork GAA moving forward. The Gaelic football and hurling teams in 2021 will be sponsored by sportsdirect.com. And of course, if you don't know, Sports Direct are the company that is not predominantly owned by Mike Ashley. He is a majority shareholder, so he isn't the only person involved in the ownership of that company. But he does have a massive say, and a say more than most in the dealings and all the business stuff that goes on behind the scenes with sportsdirect.com. And look, listen, what makes this controversial? Why are so many people talking about Mike Ashley? Because, well, he's not very well respected in his own country, in England, and in particular in a lot of the sports teams in the UK that he has been involved in, and a lot of the sports sponsorships that he's been involved in, most notably Newcastle United. I mean, main people from Newcastle, main Newcastle fans, Newcastle pundits, everyone has very much speaking openly about Mike Ashley and some of the real nuances that have happened in his time, of course, as the owner of that football club, and of course everything else that's happened. For example, St James's Park, a very famous ground, a ground known for producing players like Alan Shearer, a Newcastle team, of course, back in the 90s that was exceptional. There's a reason why there's a lot of Newcastle fans here in Ireland. Going forward, I don't know if there'll be many Newcastle fans in Ireland nowadays. You don't grow up as a Newcastle fan maybe anymore unless your family supported Newcastle United. But back in those days, Newcastle shirts were on the rise, and they were a club very much on the rise. But in came Mike Ashley, and it's really gone all downhill ever since. St James's Park is now the Sports Direct Arena, and in truth, to be honest, it hasn't gone too well for Mike Ashley in general. He got involved with Rangers, he's had the FEI deal, the GaelicBoots.com that fell through the roof as well. It's all just really gone up in smoke for Mike Ashley, and now he gets involved with Cork GAA, and to be honest, he is a sponsor, he's not an owner. It's not like the Newcastle United situation. It may not even make a difference. All that is probably going to happen is Sports Direct is going to be on the shirts of Cork GAA. But is it good for Cork? Well, that's what we're going to discuss in today's video. What's the story, everyone? Welcome back to GAA Fan TV. My name is Aaron, and this is the weekly GAA news, of course. I'm going to start bringing these out more and more, of course, because, well, there's no games, there's nothing really going on, and look, listen, I do have a lot more things in the pipeline for this channel, of course, but look, listen, there's not been a lot going on in terms of news, in all honesty. Not really too much happening. Players retiring, which we'll get into. 4 Mayo players retired, a couple of players from other counties retired as well, few other bits and pieces happening up and down the country. But Mike Ashley, Sports Direct to sponsor Cork GAA in new 5-year deal. It's official. It has actually happened. Mike Ashley is now officially a part of the GAA family. Welcome, Mike Ashley, with open arms. In you come. I don't think many people are very happy to have Mike Ashley in the GAA, or at least somewhat involved with his company Sports Direct. Now, of course, the sponsor that will be on the shirts of Cork GAA players, the likes of Pat Horgan, for example, will wear the Cork jersey that will have Sports Direct on the front. And look, we'll dive into some tweets as well, and we'll have a look at a couple of articles here. So we'll have a look at the article here from punditarena.com. So as I said before, Mike Ashley, Sports Direct to sponsor Cork GAA in new 5-year deal. The contract is believed to be worth $2 million over the next 5 years. Sports Direct, owned by Mike Ashley, has agreed a deal with the Cork County Board to become the new sponsor of both the county's football and hurling teams. Look at him there in that photo. You can see the delightment on his face. I mean, someone should have told him, maybe choose a different county. Why are you choosing Cork? No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. Nothing wrong with Cork. I love Cork. Cork is a great place. Been there many a time before. It's very similar to Dublin, but not Dublin, which makes it quite good. But anyway, moving on. According to the Sunday Times, the contract is believed to be worth $2 million over the next 5 years. This also includes a 200,000 bonus for winning any All-Ireland title and a new boot deal. So it's worth $2 million. You're not going to win an All-Ireland in the next 5 years. Let's be honest. I mean, you might. Hurling, I highly doubt it. But I mean, that is quite a big bonus. So, whoever was putting that on the table probably said it's probably very unlikely that Cork wins in All Ireland. But I feel like it's definitely more likely in hurling. Just for the fact that in football, I mean, we're not going to dive too much into it now, but you've got Dublin, Kerry, Donegal, Mayo. Like, Cork have a lot of young players coming through, and look, listen, they probably will be thereabouts at some stage in the next 5 years. But I just don't see it happening. In hurling, they're all, you've got Pat Horgan, you've got great hurlers coming through, you've very good under 20 hurlers. So you never know. You never quite know. But look, listen, that's a conversation for another day. We're not really going to delve too much into that. And of course, this is not Sports Direct's first involvement in Irish sport after an infamous deal was reached between the sports retailer and the FAI. The FAI has now been forced to repay Sports Direct €100,000 a month after the 6.5 million kit deal collapsed. And what a coincidence. As soon as that deal collapses and the FAI is paying 100,000 to Sports Direct, they're like, let's put it back in to another organisation. Let's put it into the GAA. Let's put it into Cork GAA. And yeah, there you have it very much. Of course, a lot of different controversies and things that have happened with the FAI down the years, and it's almost like the FAI's dirty money is filtering through Sports Direct and then going through to the GAA, or going through to Cork GAA. Very interesting nonetheless, but it's probably more a coincidence than anything else. Or maybe, Sports Direct probably knew the fact that let's put this money back in. Ashley is well known for his role as owner of Premier League side Newcastle United. 14 years ago, he bought the club for 150 million. However, a lot of Newcastle fans have been unhappy during his tenure due to the lack of investment in the first team. And yeah, look, listen, I've always said it before about Mike Ashley. He's not a good football club owner. He's not a man who should be owning a football team. He doesn't have football principles. He's not a football man, but he is a smart businessman. And that's probably how he's been able to profit off of a team that really has not been successful in the past 10 to 15 years, going back a long time. I don't know all the history or ins and outs of Newcastle United, but what I do know is that for a club like them, for, a fan base like them, a stadium that I think holds maybe 50,000 people, and I think they're probably, top 5, top 6 stadiums in England, at least from Premier League clubs anyway, if you discount Wembley and everything else. So there's huge possibilities there. And that's the reason why you've had, a lot of people who've been looking at Newcastle United as a club to really invest in, because they have a hugely passionate fan base. They have the season ticket holders. They have a bit of history there as well. They're a brand. They're definitely a brand. They have a unique kit, a unique badge, a history. There was even a movie, a film, Goal, made about Newcastle United. So they are a brand, and Mike Ashley knew that, and that was one of the reasons why he went in there, in my opinion. And he's basically ripped the soul out of the club, changing a lot of tradition in that football club. Like I said before, St. James's Park now becoming the Sports Direct Arena. The deal is the first one struck by One Cork, which is a group established to earn additional revenue by Cork GAA. However, this isn't Sports Direct's first involvement in Gaelic games in Cork. They also sponsor Glen Rovers, one of Cork's most successful clubs. So, will this actually have a big difference for Cork going down the years? It's really hard to know, and there are certainly a lot of articles that are saying, will this even make a difference? Did Mike Ashley even know about this? What level of investment's even going to go into Cork GAA? Is there any investment that's going to go into Cork GAA? It's really hard to know. And look, listen, there's been sponsorships down the years. Chill Insurance, without doubt, sponsored Cork GAA, and it just depends on the whole scenario. I don't know how much of that money will actually go to them. How much of that money that goes to the county board will go back into investment in the team. And look, listen, Cork are in a great position, more than most, to be a team to really, in the long term, challenge for All-Ireland football titles with Dublin, for example. They have the population, they have the infrastructure, they have the underage success at minor and at under 20 level. For me, Cork really should be, and could be, in the next 5 to 10 years, be an All-Ireland football challenger year in, year out. But will they be? That's only really, time will only tell in regards to that. Will this deal even make a difference it's hard to know at this point. Okay, so we'll get into some tweets in regards to this Mike Ashley situation, and we'll just kind of run through them a little bit here. So Timmy Hammersley says, no matter what people say, the recent deal by Cork GAA does bring up its own questions. Mike Ashley has a proven history of putting profit before people in the extreme sense, but Cork GAA players will say they need the investment to compete, which is right. Yeah, absolutely. You know, it is right. Cork do need the investment, I suppose. Look, listen, as I said many times before, they have the population there. They have the history. They have the infrastructure. They have the potential really to push on. But how much of this money that goes to the county board will be put back into investment? And that is the real question with Cork. And I think that's been the big question down the years. And that's been why so many people have had issues with the Cork County Board down the years. But look, listen, only time will really tell, and only they will know really what will happen in the next couple of years. This is from Matthew Glendinning. Mike Ashley has an eye for powerful, positive, community-based sports brands like Newcastle United Football Club and Cork GAA. Supporters of these clubs, however, tend to be a bit less keen on Sports Direct, something with a misalignment of values. I don't think anyone really would have too much of an issue with Sports Direct. And look, listen, Sports Direct themselves, I don't really shop in them too much, to be honest. I mean, well, you can't really shop anywhere at the moment, can you? But it's just been all the ins and outs that have gone on behind the scenes. It's more got to do with Mike Ashley than anything else, to be honest. And obviously he is the majority shareholder in Sports Direct, so that's why. And as I said before, a lot of issues behind the scenes with Mike Ashley in Newcastle, and even his involvement with Rangers as well. A lot of real questions just of what's going on behind the scenes and different decisions he's made. And I think they've been the main problems that people really well and truly have with Mike Ashley. Brian Carroll says here, can you imagine the fume and outrage within the county of Cork if Mike Ashley renamed the park the Sports Direct Arena? Stranger things have happened. Yeah, I mean the Parky Queeve Arena, I've seen that one as well, or Parky Sports Direct. Just different mad things going around. I mean, look, listen, we have to remember it's his company that's sponsoring Cork. He's not an owner, so he doesn't have the right to do that. Like, let's be honest here. He could negotiate it. He could try and negotiate it. We've seen it happen. Manchester City, for example, their stadium is named the Etihad Arena after Etihad Airways. So, you know, it does happen. It does happen. Without doubt, it happens up and down across the world. But it would be something that Mike Ashley's company would have to negotiate. And you'd have to imagine the Cork GAA and their county board and the GAA themselves would surely wouldn't agree to that. I mean, let's be honest. Come on, there's tradition in the GAA that needs to be followed. And renaming a stadium with the history of Parky Queeve to something like that would be the start of the decline of the association of the GAA, in my opinion. But I don't think it will happen. I don't think that will ever happen. I couldn't see it happening. So we'll move on, and there has been a number of retirements this week in the GAA. Of course, 4 Mayo players retiring, one after the other. Mayo players dropping like flies. Seamie O'Shea, David Clarke, Tom Parsons, Donny Vaughan, all announcing their retirement from inter-county football. I suppose, first of all, Tom Parsons, he had a massive injury there about 2 years ago. He did come off the bench, I believe, in the final, which I suppose was probably a significant moment for him. But I think all in all, when you suffer a huge injury like he has had, I'm sure retirement has been on his mind for a couple of years now, really, since that injury. And look, listen, best of luck to him. Same for Donny Vaughan, Seamie O'Shea as well. 2 very good servants down the years. Seamie O'Shea, at times for Mayo, been absolutely fantastic, and same for Donny Vaughan as well. They've both given everything for Mayo down the years, and it's very harsh on some of those players that they don't end their career with that elusive All-Ireland title, but I suppose that is just how things go. David Clarke, that's kind of the big one in many ways. He was still in the starting 15, of course, and his retirement might make more of a difference to others, just for the fact that he had what a wonderful season he had for Mayo this year. Without doubt, probably in the top 2, top 3 goalkeepers in the country this year. And without doubt, with what he has done for Mayo down the years, he's been one of the best goalkeepers in Gaelic football, and probably in Mayo's Gaelic footballing history, without doubt. He's been tremendous. He's made big saves when he's had to. Look, listen, he's made errors, he's made mistakes, and sometimes those errors and mistakes have come back to haunt Mayo and have come back to haunt their county. But ultimately, at the end of the day, in my opinion, he's done more right than wrong. And I think his performance in this year's championship in particular very much showed that. I thought his performance in the final was exceptional, and Yeah, look, listen, when the GA released their All-Stars for Team of the Year, I'm sure David Clarke will be up there. As I said before, I think Raymond Gallagher should get it, but check out my Football Team of the Year to see exactly why. But without doubt, David Clarke, a true warrior of the game, and it's going to be interesting to see now what Mayo do in regards to the goalkeeping position. Of course, Robert Henley has been in there when David Clarke hasn't been there. Maybe they bring through one of the goalkeepers from under 20, or maybe they look through the club championship and at some of the goalkeepers there as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what James Horan does. He definitely does have a decision to make, without doubt. And look, listen, will all these players retiring have a huge burden on this Mayo team going into 2021 and going into the championship this year? Will that lack of experience in the dressing room come back to haunt them? Will it matter? Will it actually matter in the long term for these players retiring? And look, listen, without doubt, these players retiring will have some sort of an impact. You know, they're experienced heads in the dressing room. They're great for the younger players like Oisin Mullen, Noel McLaughlin, etc., coming through the ranks, because, you know, they can provide experience. They can tell players about the big games, about the big matchups and whatnot. But I think it's a good time to retire, in all honesty. I really do, because a lot of these young players that did come through, Oisin Mullen, Owen McLaughlin, Mark Moore and Ryan O'Donoghue, you know, they won a Connacht title this year. They got to an All-Ireland final. They really done the best that they could really do in 2020. You know, they were competitive with Dublin for, 50 odd minutes, and they gave it a really, really good go. So I think all in all, with some of the younger players, you know, newer younger players that are going to come through now because of this, it frees up space on the bench. It frees up space for more players to come into the panel. And I think ultimately in the long term, it will actually help Mayo more, in my opinion, because, look, listen, Donny Vaughan, Shamie O'Shea, Tom Parsons, all really good servants for this Mayo side. But ultimately, they need fresh blood on the bench. They need new young players that are going to come through, more players coming through from that under-20 team. And without doubt, that will improve their bench. That will give them more options in the big games, because, like I said on numerous occasions, if they had a better bench in that All-Ireland final, it would have been a closer game. I think it maybe would have been 1 or 2 points, and who knows what could have happened. So that's my kind of take on it. We'll obviously have to wait and see how things pan out in the next couple of weeks and months. Run through some tweets here. So Joe Brolly, he always tends to have a say about Mayo players down the years, but this time it's something positive. He says David Clarke has made it the right stuff. Saw him in a league game for Ballina last year. They had half a team out. He was the only county player, and he drove them on ferociously in a losing cause. Fitting that he ended his county career with a flawless All-Ireland display. Yeah, absolutely. You know, he had a great All-Ireland final display, and he had a great All-Ireland season, and it is good that he, you know, retires on the right note. Bernard Brogan says, congrats on retirement. This one still haunts me. One of the best in the business. Respect. And Bernard Brogan is referring to the 2012 All-Ireland semi-final, the last time Mayo beat Dublin, of course, in a championship game. And of course, that was the late goal chance. Of course, Dublin, I remember, had a 10-point deficit. They clawed it back to a point. Bernard Brogan was going through on goal. He went for the goal. He didn't take the point. And ultimately, Mayo went on to win the game. Richie Hennigan says, things that arrived after David Clarke made his Mayo GA debut. Bluetooth, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, smartphones, Blu-ray, smoking ban, the stand in McHale Park, Oisin Mullen's first words. So it tells you how long David Clarke, he's been there. You know, 20 years he's been a part of this Mayo setup. I mean, that's a long, long time to be part of the setup. You know, you think back of the 04 and the 06 teams that made All-Ireland finals. So David Brady very much alluding to that. David Clarke, 20 years is the ultimate service to Mayo. After dropping him off in Charlestown to play a club minor game, after winning a National League medal in 2001, I knew he was the one. He doesn't do social media, but Clarke, the key Ballina, will get him. Philip Reid says, now Shamie O'Shea, this exodus of players from Mayo is remarkable. One a day and all terrific servants and players. And yeah, look, listen, I mean, Colin Ball, Keith Higgins, could they be the next two players that could potentially retire? Still think they probably have another year or two in them, but there certainly are a lot of players retiring at the moment. And look, listen, we weren't saying that Mayo were in a transition for no reason. You know, there is a genuine, you know, good reason behind it, and it's because of all the retirements. It's because of players who are retiring, etc., etc. And it's happened here. It has happened 4 players have retired in the space of a week. There may be a few more as well. But I think, as I said before, more younger players can come through, and I think it will help them in the long term. Look, listen, it might not help them next year, but in the coming years, I think it will help them. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up here. Do leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. My name is Aaron, and I'll see you in the next video.